Greetings, friends. You are watching the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of October 18th, 2025. A lot of very important events have happened today, so let's get started. We begin, as always, from the line of contact. Over the past 24 hours, many reports have come in that deserve attention, and we'll start with the Kherson sector of the front, where several independent experts have confirmed that the armed forces of the Russian Federation crossed the Dnipro River in certain areas and advanced directly toward the city of Kherson. That's how several neutral mapping services now mark the situation. But I'd like to remind you that yesterday, a number of pro-Russian analysts shaded those same zones as Russian-controlled, even before neutral sources did. And they also added several neighborhoods, blocks, and parts of Kherson under the control of Russian troops. For now, the reported entry into the Ostrov district has not been confirmed, but will continue to monitor. Clearly, some kind of movement has begun. Perhaps this activity is timed deliberately ahead of the upcoming Trump-Zelensky meeting to weaken Zelensky's negotiating position. It's hard to say. Or perhaps it's the beginning of a broader offensive. We have to understand clearly, if this conflict is to end on Ukrainian soil, it will likely end along the line of contact. The Russian side knows perfectly well that it's either now or maybe never again. That's why it may be trying to cross the Dnipro now to strengthen its bargaining position and establish a bridgehead on the Ukrainian side of the river before any potential negotiations. At the same time, the Russian army is advancing actively on the Zaporizhzhia axis, possibly even preparing to approach the city of Zaporizhzhia itself. Russian forces are also pressing hard in the northern and northwestern parts of the Donetsk region. Now we move to the Huliaipol direction. Reports indicate that Poltavka has come fully under Russian control. This entire red-marked zone has been cleared. I mistakenly placed one map layer under another earlier, but to clarify, blue marks Ukrainian positions and the Ukrainian side does not acknowledge the loss of Poltavka or partial losses north of Malinivka. Still, as of today, this is how the map looks. Russian troops have taken Poltavka completely, cleared it, and are now engaged in demining operations. They also expanded the control zone west of Malinivka. This section of the front is now in Russian hands, with an advance of up to 600 meters in favor of the Russian armed forces. Moving further on the map, news has also arrived from the village of Privolny. This video came from that point. Russian forward positions there were attacked by Ukrainian forces. Some sources claim that Privolna has now come under full Russian control. If that's true, the map will soon be shaded accordingly. For now, the video confirms that Russian units were holding the forward line there, and that the entire red-marked area is now under Russian control. The Ukrainian side, of course, denies the loss of Privolny or any Russian progress in that sector. It is also reported that Russian troops are pressuring the village of Vyshnev not only from Verbov, but now also from Privolna. In the coming days, Vyshnev may also fall under Russian control, as assault operations are beginning there. And the only remaining supply road, not yet under Russian fire, runs through Oleksandrivka. This is the supply route into Vyshnev, since the road from Yehorivka is already under Russian fire control. So we may soon see significant changes here in favor of the Russian army. Supply difficulties have increased because Russian forces blew up a bridge between Pokrovsk and Oleksandrivka. The destroyed bridge has disrupted logistics in that sector. These are the key updates for now. Next, in the area of Novopavlivka, Russian troops are successfully advancing along the supply road between Novopavlivka and Dakhne, which runs roughly along this line. Yesterday, video footage from this area confirmed that all of this territory is under Russian control. Today, new reports suggest that Russian forces are clearing the pocket between the settlements of Filia and Orikov. With Orikov here and Filia there, Russian troops are sweeping through this entire pocket, advancing toward Novopavlivka. For now, this remains in the news stage, so no map corrections yet. In the coming days, once we get video confirmation, the map will be updated. There are also reports that Russian units are expanding control around Filia and moving toward Novopavlivka, though this too remains unconfirmed. Ukrainian sources, meanwhile, claim a successful counterattack near Filia that allegedly pushed Russian troops back, again not confirmed. So far, all information from this sector remains preliminary, and as you know, we don't adjust maps based solely on unverified news. Now we move toward Pokrovsk, most likely the source of the day's biggest developments. The essence is this: Western Pokrovsk has fallen, the defense collapsed, the armed forces of Ukraine are retreating, in some cases apparently fleeing. Several videos from this area were published today. We won't show them here due to the amount of violence, but the footage clearly shows Ukrainian formations attempting to withdraw from the western and central parts of Pokrovsk toward the north, trying to cross the railway line only to be ambushed. There are two known incidents, one here and one here, where Ukrainian soldiers were ambushed during retreat attempts, indicating that Russian units are already present in those positions. This is how the map looked yesterday, October 17th. Today, nearly all of western Pokrovsk is being shaded as lost. Moreover, some pro-Russian analysts show that the entire northwestern part of the Pokrovsk agglomeration has also collapsed. Judging by all this information, it's fair to say that the situation is now extremely close to forming the Pokrovsk pocket, and by all appearances, that moment is approaching. Next, we move to the Kostyantynivka sector of the front, where Russian troops continue combat operations, gradually advancing toward Kostyantynivka. The main news today comes from the village of Pleshcheyevka. In its latest report, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that the South group of forces had completely cleared Pleshcheyevka. Based on this confirmation, the map has been fully updated in that area. The situation remains unclear regarding the bridgehead south of the Kleban Beek reservoir, but most likely the territory south of the reservoir is also under Russian control. After further analysis, this area will likely be adjusted on the map as well. As we can see, Russian troops have already approached Kostyantynivka, not only from the southeast, but also from the south itself. Next, we move to the Lyman direction. The armed forces of the Russian Federation have improved their positions in the areas of Novoselivka, Dibrova, and Drobyshev. This is how the map looked just yesterday. Today, several mapping sources have made adjustments, showing that Russian forces have managed to semi-encircle Ukrainian units inside the village of Novoselivka. A small supply route still remains through Yarova, but the distances are now so short that most likely in the coming days, the Ukrainian side will either withdraw or a small pocket will form in this area. Now let's see what has happened near Lyman. It appears that the Russian army has entered the town itself. We're using an entirely Ukrainian source, Deep State, which is practically official. Here is Zarekny. Over here is Yampil, where fighting continues. And here is Lyman. This grey zone is what was marked yesterday. Now let's see today's update. Attention, you can see how far the grey zone has moved forward. Formally, a grey zone means it's not yet under full control, of course. But when we're talking about deep state, believe me, that almost always means firm control already. Only about 6 kilometers remain to Lyman. Lyman is quite a large town, an important railway junction. The map on their site isn't very clear or high contrast, but you can see that it's not a small settlement. To put it mildly, it's the key location in this entire direction, which is why it's called the Lyman sector. And not long ago, this seemed like a distant dream. But now, as they say, dreams come true. Just like in that old Gazprom slogan. In any case, today's a remarkable day. If you read the comments on Deep State's Telegram channel, you can see the panic. People are asking why there were no defensive lines here, where the billions of taxpayer hryvnias, or rather European taxpayer euros, went. Why they didn't dig in. Oh, and here too, the front has moved about 6 kilometers. That's quite something, right? Russian forces are already reaching the main road, cutting supply routes, taking control everywhere. People are wondering what's going on, suggesting that Commander Sursky should probably be replaced, since, judging by his results, he seems more Russian than Ukrainian. And under such leadership, well, you get the idea. Now, on the Kupiansk axis, there are also updates from the area around the village of Piszczane and from Kupiansk itself. Let's start with Piszczane. Today, confirming materials have arrived showing that Russian troops entered Piszczane and took control of the settlement. We also shade Stepova Novoselivka, since it is most likely under Russian control as well, though no video from there has yet been published, only reports. It is also reported that Russian forces have completely cleared Pishchane. To remind you, around Pishchane there used to be a strong Ukrainian fortified area, with multiple defensive lines, no longer marked on maps. Back in 2023, Russian troops suffered heavy losses there, and many Ukrainian soldiers were captured in this sector. Finally, Pishchane has now come fully under Russian control. There had also been a large number of foreign mercenaries among the Ukrainian forces here, who had been professionally trained and prevented the Russians from advancing for a long time. Now, however, as Russian troops expand their control zone around Kupiansk, the Ukrainian supply line has become practically unusable for sustaining the entire agglomeration of surrounding settlements. As a result, Ukrainian forces are gradually abandoning positions here, and in the coming days we may see a retreat and the capture of Petropavlivka and Hlushkivka, moving in that direction. As for Kupiansk itself, video footage from this location arrived today. This area was previously Russian forward positions, and now the entire red-marked territory has come under full Russian control. The area has been completely cleared, and demining operations are ongoing. Ukrainian troops, when retreating, tend to mine buildings and defensive positions, so Russian engineering units are now working there. It is also reported that Russian troops effectively control the main supply route. It has not been physically cut off, but is under dense fire control, making resupply of the entire Ukrainian grouping in this sector practically impossible. Yes, Ukrainian troops still have a few crossings across the Oskil River that allow limited logistics, but many of these crossings are being destroyed by artillery and FPV drones. Another confirmed strike was recorded today near the village of Osinova. There have already been several strikes there in previous days, and another one occurred today. To recall, the only remaining supply road for Kupiansk now runs through Osinova. It is through this village that the city is being supplied. Everything indicates that within the next few weeks, this settlement may also come fully under Russian control, as Ukrainian defenses here have essentially collapsed. These are the updates for this area. Next, we move toward the town of Volchansk, which has also seen important developments. According to various experts, both pro-Russian and neutral, the armed forces of the Russian Federation have established control over more than 80% of Volchansk. The pace of the advance is very high. The Russian army may soon enter open terrain and begin moving deeper into the Kharkiv region. This information has been confirmed by multiple mapping services. Moreover, Russian forces have entered the final southern stronghold of Volchansk, meaning the defense has been broken. It's now only a matter of time before Russian units fully clear the area. As you can see, the situation in the Kharkiv direction has become extremely difficult for Ukrainian forces. From the Sumy direction, reports say that the settlement of Alexeyevka has completely come under Russian control. This is confirmed by pro-Russian sources. Ukrainian forces attempted to attack Russian positions near Vorozhba, but their assault groups were destroyed by FPV drones. Ukrainian positions near Kondrativka and Andriivka have also been hit. These areas are attacked daily by FPV drones. Meanwhile, Russian positions are being targeted near the settlements of Volodymyrivka and Novonikolaivka, with intense FPV drone activity reported there as well. No significant territorial changes have been recorded today. Heavy fighting also continues east of the village of Sadki in these forested areas. There are many fortified Ukrainian positions within the forests, which so far have prevented Russian troops from entering Sadki or advancing toward the forest belts east of Sumy. And that's all for today, dear friends. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave your likes, and all the best to you.